Hello, I'm Jenny Fern and welcome to my library. I am a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and wants to talk about books. So let's talk about books. So today, let's explore, do I read what I haul? So recently I did a video where I assess how many books I've read from a recent thrift store book haul. And I thought, well, I could do this again, but for a far more distant thrift store book haul, and I can compare and contrast how much I've read when the books have been around for a few years. So I have a book haul from 2018 in which I got 11 books. So let's see how many I have read and how many I have not. I will also put in clips from the older video to get a taste of what I thought it might be or why I picked it up. Because these are from an era where I was photographing a lot of books, I'll also put up a picture of the photograph I took for the book, because I'm trying to get more into that this year. So the first book that I hauled was The Heart of a Woman by Maya Angelou. I don't know, I'm just kind of interested in it. I want to know what it's about. I haven't really heard about this one, and it's got pretty colors on it. Matches my background, apparently. The Heart of a Woman by Maya Angelou is the fourth installment in her autobiographical series, exploring her journey through motherhood, activism, and personal growth during the 1960s. I just love this cover so much. It's such a pleasing color palette, and it's really simple looking. So I have read this book. I read this in 2020 in June, and I do recall sitting in one of the outdoor chairs on my back patio reading this book in the warm weather, early morning on a weekend. I don't think I had a ton of expectations for this book, but this captures some of her later life. She does live in Africa for a period of time during this book, and she has a husband, and they're pretty deeply involved in civil rights. I did enjoy this book, and honestly, I would have to look at my review at the time to really know how I felt about it, because it has been several years since I've read this book, but I definitely don't regret reading it. So I have an older copy of this book, but this is The Merry Spinster by Daniel M. Lavery. This one I'm pretty interested in what it is. I haven't heard anything about it. It's called The Merry Spinster, Tales of Everyday Horror. It has a little blurb by Rainbow Rowell. I don't really know anything about it. It's got deckled edges. The Merry Spinster is a collection of whimsically twisted fairy tales, infusing classic stories with dark humor and unexpected narratives, offering fresh and thought-provoking takes on familiar tales. I read this in June of 2019, so a full year before I read The Heart of a Woman. Strange collection of short stories. They are retellings of fairy tale kind of stories. There's one that I remember right now. Yeah, the rabbit I really remember, and I don't know why. The stories are pretty gruesome, I would say, and they explore a few different themes, but one of those themes is gender identity. I did consider donating this book in the past, but at this point I would rather keep it. Again, I don't regret reading this book. The next book is What You Don't Know About Charlie Outlaw by Leah Stewart, which is a very similar cover to Where'd You Go, Bernadette? I'm pretty sure I've seen this cover before on like lists of books within like the past couple years. It's got yellow on the cover, which is a bonus, and the spine looks cute. Otherwise, I don't really know what this is about. This is about a famous actor, Charlie Outlaw, who is kidnapped, and it delves into the complexities of identity, fame, and self-discovery. So I picked this book up because I recognized it. At this point in my life, I don't think I would pick up a book like this because they're not really the ideal type of book for me. But I didn't mind reading this at all. I feel like I read this somewhat recently. So I read this in January 2022. I do recall that I enjoyed this. Not really my type of thing. especially anymore, but I'm perfectly fine with keeping this on my shelves again. The next book is My Absolute Darling by Gabrielle Talent. This is one that I've seen like all over the place. It's got some blurbs on the back by like Stephen King. I have seen this as like suggested or like in lists and stuff. I don't know, seemed like something that I would be interested in. And it's got a gorgeous cover, nice spine. It's a hardback, which I never have hardbacks, so that's pretty cool. This seems like a really, really nice, solid book. My Absolute Darling by Gabrielle Talent is about a young girl named Turtle who is growing up in the wild California coast with her abusive father, and she discovers the world beyond their isolated existence, grappling with the harsh realities of her upbringing. And I have also read this book. I read this several years ago. I read this in December of 2018, and when I did, I really didn't enjoy the reading experience. A lot of this book is abuse of a child, which is pretty triggering for me. I hated it. There are some explorations of like the California coastline. I think this is set in Mendocino County, and there are so many beautiful blurbs on the back about how the writing is so good, and I just really couldn't get into it because the storyline was really painful. Yeah, this was 100% not a book for me, and I am annoyed by that because the cover is so beautiful and it's got these redwoods and it's just such a pretty looking thing, and I would love to read a book set in this setting, but I really don't want to read about a young like teenage girl getting abused by her father. Not my thing at all. I don't know why I read all of it. Then we get into a book that I have not read, and that is Mr. Moe's Traveling Couch. Then I got this book, which I will say is mostly because of how fucking pretty that is. It's like art. I mean, I know it is art, but it's really pretty. It's called Mr. Moe's Traveling Couch. Yeah, no, this one looks really dope. I want to read this. I don't know how I've never looked at this plot summary, but I was just generating a plot summary through ChatGPT and I was trying to verify if it was correct because it sounds so off the rails, but apparently it's at least somewhat correct. So, Mr. Moe's Traveling Couch follows the story of Mr. Moe, a Chinese psychoanalyst on a mission to obtain a virgin to appease a judge. His unconventional quest takes him on a journey filled with absurdity, humor, and reflections on love, desire, and the complexities of human nature. I think I'm more intrigued to read this now than I was before. This just hasn't called out to me, but it is a beautiful cover, beautiful spine. I still believe that. Now we get to another book that I have not read, and I've actually technically unhauled this book. I still have it in my house because it's waiting its turn in my little free library when some space frees up, which I don't think is ever gonna happen, so maybe I should just cycle some books out to get people re-excited about what's in there. I have The Rocks by Peter Nichols. This is a double love story told in reverse, is what it says. I do not know what that means, but sounds cool. Cover looks really pretty. The font's really pretty, and the tone, like the color tones are really pretty, and the spine's really pretty. And that's pretty much why I picked it up, so I'm sorry. Set in a Mediterranean paradise, this novel spans decades and intricately weaves the lives of two families, exploring love, betrayal, and the enduring impact of choices. I decided to unhaul this because I looked up some reviews about it. The reviews weren't good and I'm not interested in that. I'm just not interested in that. I bought this because I loved the cover and I shouldn't have done that. So I've corrected my mistake by getting rid of the book. This book I also have not read, and that's The Radleys by Matt Haig. I also read, I think it's Dead Fathers Club by Matt Haig, and I really liked that book, so I picked this one up just because I knew the author from a different book. So that's like a somewhat better reason than like the cover. Also, if I was going off of the cover, like what does this say about me? And I don't have a synopsis because the dust jacket's gone. I don't know what it's about, but I'm interested. This darkly comedic novel follows a seemingly ordinary family living in suburban England who are in fact vampires trying to lead a normal life. I am interested in reading this book, and I just feel like I'll pick this up sooner rather than later. I was actually considering reading this month. I really haven't heard that much about it. I think I'll like it. I've read one Matt Haig book before, and that was The Dead Fathers Club, and I didn't mind it at all. Then we get into X-Files books. I got Goblins by Chris Grant. I'm reading Goblins now. I started it. It's like one of those like military, this guy has visions kind of thing, which I feel like is very common for for the X-Files, honestly. So this is an X-Files book, so it follows FBI agents Fox Mulder and Dana Scully. They are assigned to cases that are unusual and usually have some sort of supernatural solution to the case. This is about a small town where some like murders and stuff are taking place. There's like an invisible murderer. I'm not exactly sure why they're calling it a goblin, but evidently the murderer is like able to blend in some sort of supernatural way. Barely remember this book, but I'm sure it was just the vibes of an X-Files, you know? I love the X-Files, I really do, and the books are okay. Sometimes I've noticed with the books that they don't quite get writing Scully correct, in my opinion. The next book I have also read, and that is Antibodies, another X-Files book, and this one is by Kevin J. Anderson. This one just looked a little bit like late series. It looks like the later seasons, maybe like the 6th season or something, so I felt kind of weird about reading that right now. Because I really like the first 3 seasons. First season X-Files, primo shit. This is also an X-Files book, so it also follows our favorite FBI agents as they try to solve some sort of supernatural case. And in this case, a scientist discovers a virus that can alter human DNA, and there is a bit of a kerfuffle of different people involved trying to get power over that virus. This is kind of like a later in the series book. And this one is about like a veterinary kind of thing. There's like a dog, and there's like some virus or like something about cancer and like living forever or something like that. I did enjoy this. The next book is Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. I've actually met this author, which is pretty fucking cool. I didn't know at the time because I was really into writing, but I wasn't like super into reading, I guess. So I didn't really know who he was. I didn't know what this series was, but this is pretty big, so I'm stoked on this too. Set on a colonized Mars, this sci-fi epic explores political, social, and environmental challenges faced by the first settlers as they attempt to terraform and establish a new society. Doesn't this 100% seem like something I should read? It does. It does. It really seems like something I should read. I would love to read this, but it's just so big is the problem. I would have to dedicate some time and really commit to reading this book, and I just haven't done that yet. I'm really excited about it. I have read one other Kim Stanley Robinson book at this point, and that's Aurora. I think more excited to get stuck into this series because I think it'll be more my thing. The last book that I had in this haul was Monument by Lloyd Biggle Jr. This seems really fucking interesting, and I mostly bought it for the cover because look at how fucking dope this art looks. I almost started reading this today instead of the X-Files book. This science fiction novel follows the discovery of an ancient alien artifact on a distant planet, sparking a race to unravel its mysteries before conflicting interests lead to its destruction. I don't really recall that. I do recall that there is some importance on the native population of this planet, and that there is some construction stuff going on. This book was fun. It was an experience. There's a lot of gourds in it. I read this in August of 2020. Leave in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you've enjoyed any of these books, and do you read the books that you haul? How long does it take you to read them? I think that might be interesting to plot out for me. So here is the summary of what I read and when, and how long it took me to get to reading 7 out of 11 of these books that I'd hauled in 2018. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you all soon.